Good evening, listeners. This is Chandrika Kumar. This evening, I am going to talk about the magic of voice communication. Ever since there are human beings, there have been languages which have been the basis for human-to-human communication. Voice with the potential of being recognized has been an integral part of this communication. Therefore, it is also termed as voice communication, referring to the exchange of spoken words that contain information of various kinds. Voice communication has thus been an integral part of human existence. That two or more people communicate with each other in their sheer real physical presence has been a fact of the matter ever since human existence. However, what changed in the field of voice communication around the end of 19th and the beginning of 20th century with the help of scientific innovation at multiple locations and with the advancement of technology is that people started to have voice communication with each other even when they were physically not present in the same geographical space. This transformation in the face of voice communication was indeed magical, the effects of which are felt and seen very much today in our day-to-day lives. Today, it is extremely difficult to imagine our lives without a smartphone, laptop, computer or tablet. These gadgets work with the help of internet and have mostly become a part of our lives since we use them largely to communicate with other people. This communication with voice over the internet protocol is a relatively new development. What is older than this is when people use the telephone lines with wired connections to talk to each other in one-to-one communication. However, what is perhaps more remarkable and much more interesting is that in the field of voice communication, it was also possible to communicate with a large group of people using the wireless device. This device, called the radio set, has had a much wider reach and effect in the field of voice communication. The radio set enables voice communication between a station and a community with a large number of people. Therefore, it indeed embodies the magic of voice communication in our present time. Communication with the help of a radio set revolutionized, in fact internationally, the face of voice communication in the first half of 20th century. Initially, it conveyed only small pieces of information such as important news or government communications for the masses. But in the course of time, it changed, in fact expanded, and started to contain varied programs such as radio plays, musical performances, sports commentary, phone-in sessions, community events, educational services, and pieces of entertainment. In this way, radio communication did not remain restricted to just a few hours of engagement. In certain cases, particularly in the 21st century, few stations have started to operate throughout the day. Thus, people can tune in anytime as per their convenience and benefit from the communication being broadcast. Talking about voice communication with special reference to radio communication, we often have to juggle between the past and the present. What we see today has been built over several decades of dedication, innovation, hardship, and perseverance. Overall, there is a vast history behind the whole development that we can see today. Talking more specifically about the case of voice communication with the help of a radio set in India, there is a history of almost a century. The first experimental radio broadcast began in June 1923 at the Radio Club of Bombay, followed by the Calcutta Radio Club a few months later. In the 1920s, radio broadcasts stayed in private hands, but in the 1930s, the then government took the operations of radio broadcast in its own hands and named it Indian State Broadcasting Service, which was formally replaced by the All India Radio, having been established on 8th June 1936. Ever since then, the All India Radio has been in the service to the nation and is proudly celebrating 90 years of its existence. The All India Radio has been served by great people, administrators, artists and anchors alike. Most of them have been Indian nationals, but some exceptional international artists have also served the All India Radio. The most prominent name among those, in my opinion, is that of Walter Kaufmann, a German-speaking Czech refugee of Jewish descent whose family was being prosecuted by the Nazi regime of the Third Reich in Germany. Kaufmann fled from home and found refuge in India. He was an exceptional musical genius, having been trained in Berlin and Prague. After fleeing Europe, he lived for 14 years in India from 1934 to 1948 before moving to the United Kingdom and Canada and finally being naturalized as a citizen of the United States. During his stay in India, he founded the Bombay Chamber Music Society along with Mehli Mehta, a prominent local musician, and ran musical shows for several years. Kaufmann also taught lessons in music to Jubin Mehta, the son of Mehli Mehta. In the year 1936, Kaufmann composed the very famous signature tune of the All India Radio. which is based on the Sivaranjani Rag. Prior to composing the signature tune, Kaufmann, well versed in Western classical music, acquainted himself with the various traditions and proponents of Indian classical music. His contribution, thus, is an example of the East and West coming together, which had stood the test of time. Kaufmann's signature tune is still played by the All India Radio. Apart from having contributed the signature tune, Kaufmann also served the All India Radio as its director of music from 1937 to 1946. Another great personality who has made a significant contribution and deserves to be named here, particularly for giving a national name to the All India Radio, is Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, whose poem Akashvani, which literally means voice from the sky, became the popular namesake for the All India Radio. Gurudev composed and recited this poem when he was invited to inaugurate the shortwave service of radio broadcast in Calcutta. Incidentally, Dr. M.V. Gopalaswamy, a professor at Maharaja's College in Mysuru, who had started the first private radio station in 1935 and named it Akashvani, is also an important personality to be named here. Although Gurudev used the term poetically earlier, Gopalaswamy formally named his radio station Akashvani. It was post-independence in the year 1956 that the Government of India officially adopted Akashvani as the national name for the All India Radio. Voice communication through All India Radio has a history of 90 years and it cannot be summed up within a few minutes. One thing which is clear beyond any scope of doubt is that it has grown into one of the largest public radio networks in the world. At the time of India's independence in 1947, All India Radio had only 6 stations in Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, Tiruchirappalli and Lucknow, covering about 2.5% of the country's area and 11% of its population. By now, it has expanded to cover more than 420 stations, broadcasting in about 23 languages and 179 dialects, reaching nearly 92% of India's geographical area and 99% of its population. The All India Radio has not just transformed itself into the most important medium of information and entertainment with a pan-India presence, but with its international presence, it has also transformed India into a global village. It has played a crucial role in broadcasting important speeches of national importance and serving as a platform for key public announcements. The magic of voice communication never fails to manifest itself when it comes to the All India Radio or the Akashvani. All India Radio's remarkable journey reflects India's own historical and cultural evolution from colonial times to a modern pluralistic democracy, while remaining a vital medium for information, education and entertainment at the same time. Right from its signature tune to its news bulletins, talk shows, phone-ins, radio plays, farm shows, sport commentary and Indian classical music, Akashvani evokes a universal emotion. Akashvani has made a significant cultural and social impact as well. It has rightly served the cultural, geographic and linguistic diversity of India. When a living sports commentary is made, it brings in a way the whole nation together. Through musical performances, it not only promotes the artists but also the legacy of various musical traditions in India. Through news bulletins in various languages, it informs the whole nation about current affairs and policy decisions. Through specialized programs dedicated to certain events and personalities, it makes the audience aware of the importance ascribed to them. Through various programs aimed at sensitizing people about issues of agriculture, community, employment and health, etc. These are some of the reasons why and how the radio in general and the Akashvani in particular has developed and evolved as an important platform and career of voice communication in India, as well as a true representative of mass media. As the earliest form of electronic media, radio has large audiences also because it causes minimal cost to the audience. It is tangible and gives a concrete, intimate and immediate feeling that something is playing. One can listen to the radio in the background for hours without having to strain one's sensory organs. This can be carried and played everywhere where radio signals are available. If one can hear and understand the language, radio offers no barrier in being received well. Due to these merits, radio has received a place among people which no other form of mass media has been able to occupy. In comparison with other forms of mass media, it of course has certain shortcomings, but given the flexibility that radio as a platform of voice communication offers to the users, it is a novel invention of technology and has rendered itself as matchless and irreplaceable. The Akashvani, with its deep-rooted presence in the lives of Indian people, has been a tangible medium to secure the unity and diversity of India. Needless to say, it continues to evolve with time and transform itself as per the need of the hour. Still, it maintains its power of communication by disseminating information, entertaining people across the nation, and by subtly educating them as well. The story of All India Radio, or Akashvani, continues to resonate with every Indian, and as a powerful beacon of voice communication, it continues to connect hearts and minds across the nation. Thank you.